Hello, my name is Raiku and I play Mage for Skillcapped EU.
Hello, my name is Healingstad and I will be playing Restoration Druid and Holy Paladin for Skillcapped.
I'm Pry and I play Rogue for Skillcapped.
I'm Ville, I'm the team captain of Skillcapped EU.
For us it's really important to be here because I think we are one of the strongest teams in the EU.
We actually only came together about a week before the first qualifier, yeah. We had a little bit of a bumpy start, but our synergy's much stronger now.
We've prepared for every single team that's here.
None of the US teams have ever played at BlizzCon before. A lot of us have played at multiple regionals or qualified for multiple regionals.
Everyone underestimates North American teams. And I tell my team every time, don't underestimate them.
We are certain we're going to beat the NA teams at this BlizzCon.
I think there is no team I'm really scared of because we can beat everyone here.
SK Gaming, I wouldn't mind knocking out. They're really strong players and they play a really good comp.
We really do see SK Gaming being a big milestone for us.
I really want to knock out SK Gaming because we lost 3-2 on regionals against them.
They're pretty cocky as well, really cocky. So if they lost, I wouldn't mind.
Our rogue Prey has even lost sleep because of countless nights he wakes up in the middle of the night, he starts typing in Skype that he has a new strategy he wants to try out tomorrow.
We were kind of obsessed about beating them now.
This time we're not going to lose against them.
So I think our team would be probably the best at BlizzCon because all four of us as individual players are respectively probably the best at our class.
We've played together since season 13, which was the second season of Miss of Pandaria. And ever since then we've been pretty good friends and we get along pretty well, so it's good.
Billy will definitely play an important role in BlizzCon. He didn't play much in regionals, but we're going to need him for certain matchups. Lee's job is mainly just to communicate what's going on with him and whether or not we can be playing aggressively or we have to pull back or something.
So I think my role as team captain, other than just keeping up on top of things, is making sure that our entire team is, keeping on track and making sure they're staying positive. If we've lost a series or if we lost a few games, then it's usually not a big deal because we can bounce right back and just get over it. I've always wanted to compete as a player at BlizzCon, and especially playing a Holy Pally, I feel like my class is a little bit underrepresented at these kind of big tournaments because in the last few years, I haven't really seen many.
Winning BlizzCon is really important to me because I've been at the top of the game for a very long time and I haven't really had much to show for it, and this is an opportunity to prove that why I'm so good.
What is up, everybody? My name is Swifty. I do World of Warcraft gameplay on my YouTube channel. You can check out the link right there. Also on twitch.tv/Swifty, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. This is my live streaming setup. I love World of Warcraft. I've been playing since the beginning, and I'm really looking forward to the new expansion. No, I'm not gonna leave the pillar. Heal, heal. How do you do this? More dots. Asking me why I like gnomes. Yeah!
Let's end this thing once and for all. My life for ire.
StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. Pre-purchase now at StarCraft.com.
The World of Warcraft Arena World Championship is brought to you in part by Intel, Windows 10, T-Mobile, and MasterCard. All right, welcome back, guys, to the World of Warcraft Arena World Championships at BlizzCon. Once again, we are live in Anaheim, California, and we just saw Cloud9 take a 2-1 victory over Follow Esports. And up next, we have a highly anticipated Tempo Storm versus Skillcapped EU matchup. This one is going to be epic. And to get it started, let's go ahead and throw it over to the casters before we meet the teams.
All right, thank you very much, Jackson. Again, this is one of those huge matchups that we were waiting for. We are in the semifinals, which means we are moving into best of 5.
Yep, and it's going to be an interesting matchup between these two. We saw Cloud9 get eliminated by Skillcapped EU, and now we're going to get to see if the other North American RMD is going to do the same. I would expect them to be leading in with the RMD. They do have Peekaboo practicing on his Shadow Priest, but I'm not sure if we're going to see that. We also had Jamili, like you were asking earlier, practicing Arcane as well. That's an option that they have available, so we can see that Tempo Storm have a lot of options available to go through with this, and Skillcapped EU are going to need to answer it.
Yeah, Skillcapped EU is one of those teams that have been playing RMD throughout the entire tournament, but they do have that dark horse, pardon me, of playing that Paladin, Shadow Priest, Mage lineup. So they do have that available, of course. And a lot of these North American RMDs basically expected them to run that as a counter. So expecting Skillcapped EU to run that God comp against their RMD, but Skillcapped EU showing they're an amazing RMD, and they're very confident in the RMD matchup. So yeah, we might end up seeing a mirror as well.
Ooh, that would be exciting.
Yeah.
All right. We can take a look at the
here.
brackets right now, as we do have them updated because we've sent 2 more teams home. And there we go. This is how Group A played out. Of course, SK Gaming taking a commanding 2-0 victory over Original Gangster, and then over Tempo Storm. And now they made their way onto the semifinals. And of course, we are switching it up, so SK Gaming is not going to be playing Tempo Storm just quite yet.
Yeah, they're going to be playing against Group B. If we can take a look at those brackets, we saw Cloud9 sort of dominate, do it for fun, and then actually get knocked down into the losers bracket by Skillcapped EU. Skillcapped EU, of course, waiting in that top 4, see who they play against. We saw the last series, Cloud9 beat Follow Esports. They're going to be moving up and fighting against Tempo Storm.
Yep, so we're going to see potentially an RMD mirror here. Now we can see the finals actually all laid out clearly, so we can all understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So Skillcapped EU versus Tempo Storm, potentially an RMD mirror between North America and Europe. And then following that, we're going to have a best-of-5 series between SK Gaming and Cloud9 that Turbo Cleave traditionally run from the European champions against the North American champions that would be expected to be running the Rogue Mage Druid. Both of these are highly anticipated series. Really going to be an awesome set of matches, and I'm more than excited to jump into them.
Yeah, and we do, just to get a closer look at these teams and meet them a little bit better, we have a personality video with Skillcapped EU.
Vilaya as a team captain, he tries to help us out in game. Sometimes it's good, sometimes we don't like it because he doesn't play the same classes as we do.
Me as a captain is like, being ruthless is pretty important. When they make mistakes, I'm gonna ditch them and get a new one, just like we did before.
He also motivates us to not tilt, because we can get kind of bad in game, especially if it doesn't go as well as we hoped. Okay.
As far as which region would be stronger, I would probably say North America is stronger than Europe. And the reason I say that is because North America probably has some of the best players out of all the players around the world, but Europe does have a much larger player pool. So when you look at the top players, I would say most of them are consistent in North America, where Europe are still very close behind, but they just have many more teams and players that they can add on to that.
All right, a little bit more insight from those teams right there, especially going into this matchup. I wonder how much they've been practicing just for this one, knowing, Tempo Storm kind of confident going into their first match, which they did a great job of dismantling Solar Gaming.
I think that both of these teams have a ton of compositions available to them, and it's going to be sort of a mind game in the opener. We saw Jamili actually playing Arcane Mage last week, which was a little bit of a surprise for a lot of players here. It is sort of an upcoming spec, so that might be something that they bust out in this matchup as well. They have RMD. Both teams have RMD and God Comp. Jamili playing Arcane, and I don't really know everything that these guys have available, but that's mostly likely what we'll see.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of mind games between both of these teams, but of course we need to introduce them to the stage. So let's go and jump over back to Bajir, and we can see the teams live.
All right, guys, time for the semifinals. Let's get it going. All right. Oh, yeah. There's BlizzCon, baby. It deserves the hype. You guys are generating it. Keep it up, guys. All right, so our team that we're bringing out now, as you heard, these guys have a lot of comps available to them, and they've demonstrated that they can play them with the best and beat the best. So let's, without further ado, introduce Skillcapped EU. All right, come on up, guys. We have Pride, Healing Stat, Raikou, and Vilai. These guys came ready to play at the BlizzCon opening week, taking out Cloud9, I believe. So these guys definitely know how to play against RMD. The question is, will they bring out their RMD mirror or the God Comp? We'll find out very shortly because they are going to be facing up against Tempo Storm. Give it up for Tempo Storm. One of the favorite teams coming out of North America. These guys, once again, have very many comps available to them, even bringing out the Arcane Mage last time. So they have a lot of options. Give it up once again for Tempo Storm. All right, guys, this one's gonna be a spicy one. Cannot wait to get this going. This is definitely one of those NA versus EU showdowns that you hope to see. Man, cannot wait. Let's send it over to the casters and get this going. All right, come on.
All right, thank you, Jackson, for bringing those teams out. Oh, I can't wait for this matchup. Again, even though it is best of 5, still have those same rules. One thing we didn't note is before a map can be played again, the whole series has to play out. So it'll never happen in a best of 5.
Yeah,
you can't pick
you're gonna have to
previous
rotate
maps.
through. A lot of the time we see the same maps. We see Nagran, of course, the first map. A lot of times we'll see Runes of Lordaeron on Blade's Edge. Some of the other maps, like Tiger's Peak, we don't often see. So it'll be nice to have that sort of in the rotation pool. We've been talking about this all day, the sort of the rivalry between Europe as well as North America. And I know Healing Stat ended up saying he didn't think that they could lose to any North American team in this tournament. So Tempo Storm, of course, going to be looking to prove them wrong here today.
Yeah, Skillcap EU have been mind gaming a lot of the teams in the tournament. I know that in practice they've always been saying we've been preparing GodComp for RMD. We're only playing GodComp into RMD. We're not going to be playing anything else. And then last week we saw them play RMD into RMD in a mirror matchup against Cloud9. And I really think it caught them off guard. Now Tempo Storm have the advantage of seeing that happen once. Hopefully it doesn't fool them twice now moving into this best of 5 series between Tempo Storm and Skillcap EU.
Yeah, I think that's one of the exciting things about this draft we're going to be seeing here very shortly is we don't actually know. This is all just speculation. I don't really have a clue what these guys are going to be running into each other. I think it's going to be a lot of guesswork, kind of guessing what the other team's going to be running and trying your best to counter comp them, but it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you pick wrong, and that's why it is a best of 5. Of course, we'll have the opportunity. Like you said, if you lose the first game, going into the second game, you have the advantage of also picking your map as well as your composition, so you do have that big advantage leading into game 2.
Speaking of picking your comps, right now we have the draft for you guys. So again, we are going to be starting on the Grand Arena. Let's see what they're going to be running. Oh.
Ooh, looks like it's going to be a Rogue Mage Druid versus a Rogue Mage Paladin Arcane Dream.
Oh my goodness.
I heard Mitch Jones was here.
Yeah, oh my Mitch Jones.
We told him it might come out. I hope he's in the crowd waiting for this. Now, the thing to note, though, we did talk to Tempo Storm yesterday and talk to Peekaboo a little bit about this. And he's going to be running Subtlety this time. They tried the Assassination, but there was just way too many ways that the Rogue can be pulled off his target during that Vendetta. So I think this is a good swap.
Another thing to note is Skillcap EU is playing that Alliance, as you can see, and Tempo Storm actually opting to go Horde. So we're going to have to see what these guys run. I don't know. I think Peekaboo will probably end up playing Orc, make those stuns a little bit less on him, less of an opportunity to actually kill him off. Jamili might end up playing Arcane. Of course he's going to be playing Arcane, but he might end up playing Blood Elf, so he can have that additional silence as well.
I would imagine maybe both of them playing Orc.
Or Troll.
Or Troll, yeah, it could be more damage as well. But it's interesting to see Tempo Storm now trying to play some mind game tricks against Skillcap EU, as I don't think Skillcap EU has a terribly large amount of practice against this composition. Tempo Storm wasn't able to catch SK Gaming off guard with it, but now they're looking to try and eliminate Skillcap EU with it. I'm curious to see how Arcane is going to play for Tempo Storm in game number 1. And Arcane is here on the BlizzCon stage. What is this?
Yeah, despite, I mean, a lot of the time people think that meta in World of Warcraft gets locked, but this is something that's just been out in recent weeks, this Arcane Rogue Paladin. And I don't think a lot of the teams here have had the opportunity to practice, and Tempo Storm really capitalizing on the fact that Jamili can play Arcane very well. And I think it's going to, if they can pull it off, it's going to do great for them.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they are just charging in with this comp. They know that they have to get them off guard, and then if they can win that first map, they are set for the rest of the 5.
Yeah, and we do have a poll available for you guys to vote in and participate. We can get a little bit of insight on who you think is going to take this. And wow, 67% for Skillcap EU and 33% for Tempo Storm. So you guys aren't believing in the Arcane Dream right now. I think Jamili is going to have to prove himself here in game 1 to try and turn this poll around for himself.
Well, it looks like it's back to 50-50 already.
50-50. Wow, look at that. Everyone decided to vote. If you guys do want to vote, of course, influence that poll. You can use the hashtag WowEsports.
All right, so again, the Grand Arena, we know the comps, we know the players on stage, so we'll have to see how they're going to pull this out. This is going to be a crazy, crazy matchup. of course, Peekaboo is going to be playing on Rogue, and he is going to be playing Subtlety this time. So if you were watching the VOD earlier from this Arcane Dream, he was playing Assassination, and I don't think it went as well as we thought it would.
Yeah, assassination damage is really predictable after you know how the spec works. So as soon as people realized, oh, Vendetta, I know what that is. I'm going to counter it every single time, and assassination really loses its flair. So Peekaboo's going to be able to play his masterful subtlety spec and kind of catch Skill Cap EU off guard with that, as it does have more on-demand burst every minute. I'm curious to see how this matchup plays. This is the first time that I've seen this composition played into each other, and it's here on the BlizzCon stage.
Is there any way you can check Jamili's spec? Yep. By any chance? So it looks like
he is not playing Ice Block.
Yeah, he's using that Evanesce. So Evanesce, of course, an ability that makes you immune to everything for 3 seconds. You can actually cast, so you give up your Ice Block as well as Blazing Speed, and you can use that Evanesce to get crowd control for free. So you'll see Jamili rotating his Presence of Mind, which makes Polymorph an instant cast, as well as the Evanesce ability. Elite will be pushing in, end up putting a Hodge on the healing stat so he can't move, and then Jamili can just use Ring of Frost or Polymorph to instantly CC him, and Raikou and Pry won't be able to do anything about that.
What's interesting is Skill Cap actually have a longer stealth timer, as Elite is not a stealth-based class. Doesn't look like Skill Cap EU are pushing in just yet. We can see them now trying to cross the center field. Jamili trying to pull them out with those arcane explosions. Raikou getting sapped. Jamili getting sapped. Pre-sacrifice over onto Peekaboo from Elite, trying to predict the deep freeze. Unfortunately, Raikou was sapped at the same time, so that sacrifice isn't going to prove too useful. We see the Hodge now connecting over onto healing stat. Jamili looking for that Ring of Frost. He connects it. Prey popping the Adrenaline Rush, going for a kill onto Peekaboo. Caught into that kidney shot, shutting him down on his Shadow Dance. Where's the burst to follow it up? He gets the Cloak of Shadows in between the stun lock combination. Well done from Peekaboo. Now pressure rolling onto Raikou, and Ice Block forced out, and Tempo Storm taking a bit of a lead here.
Yeah, Jamili stealing that Icy Veins as well as using that Arcane Power is able to put out a lot of pressure onto Raikou, and that's one of the great things about Arcane. Spell Steal doesn't cost as much mana, so he's able to use that. That's a huge part of the Arcane rotation. You'll see it. Spell Steal, Spell Steal, Spell Steal, and it's really effective against Resto Druids because you can actually take off the enemy Restoration's HOTS and put it on yourself, and that's what makes Arcane so viable.
And there's no follow-up CC after Elite pushed up with that stun. They are going to go on to Pry. You see the pre-evasion coming out right there as Peekaboo is on his back right now. Pry and Peekaboo having a little rogue duel in the middle of the map as Peekaboo is going to get back. It looks like they're going to set up onto Raikou.
Yeah, he's down to half HP. We see the death from above coming out from Peekaboo, trying to burst Raikou out. Healing stat doing a good job to heal through this pressure, trying to go for some cyclones into Jamili. The smoke bomb gets dropped. Swap over onto Peekaboo. He trinkets right away. He's down to 50% HP. He will get out of the smoke bomb. Elite should be able to pick him up. We see the Shadow Dance now coming out from Peekaboo. Cheap shot onto Pry. A Hodge over on the healing stat. The Iron Bar comes through. Jamili not able to follow up with the Sheep. They're going to use the Blind instead. But Raikou's doing a good job to kite with that Iron Bar. He does get locked on Paul. He's not able to blink out of the stun. He's down to 50 HP. They're looking to try and get the second block out from Raikou as he dips to 50%. But healing stat able to connect to Nature Swift as it stabilizes his team. As Skill Cap look to rotate the CC back around onto Tempo Storm. Peekaboo caught into the kidney shot. Elite caught into the full polymorph. He got the heal off just in between the polymorph and the defreeze. Well done from Elite. I think Peekaboo is going to survive as a result of that.
Yeah, he still has his save of the light proc as well. Once he gets low, Paladin Shield will hit him up, and it'll be hard for them to actually land that kill. Healing stat actually getting caught into that Hodge polymorph. Raikou having no HOTS right now. He does have the Arcane Power from Jamili, but he's going to have to be put into that Ice Block, getting dangerously low. Healing stat, of course, still does have his trinket available if he needs it. Raikou, though, having no more blocks for another minute until that Cold Snap is up.
And the Spell Steal is doing work on both sides, as we did see that Arcane Power was stolen by Raikou, and that's a huge play there.
Interesting swap over onto Elite with the Adrenaline Rush. He does have his bubble available. He's trying to hold on to it. It's saved by the Light Proc. Killing Spree comes out, shredding right through that, down to 24% HP, trying to kite away. Prey getting cheap shot. Hodge over on the healing stat. Tempo Storm looking to rotate the pressure around. Elite has to bubble. I think they're going to go all in for the kill. Full polymorph on the healing stat. He has no way out. Raikou is completely alone at the moment, down at 30% HP. Peekaboo caught into the blind. Elite bops him out. They're trying to go in for this, but they don't follow it up. Healing stat into the half polymorph for that bop. Just a few seconds too late, and I think Raikou should be able to survive.
Yeah, healing stat still has his Heart of the Wild. He's going to pop that. He knows Raikou's in a little bit of trouble. He needs to get that additional healing out from that cooldown. Peekaboo actually using that death from above. Raikou's still in a lot of trouble. The spell steal is coming out from Jamili. Raikou actually not getting too much healing at all, down to 10% HP. It's the full Hodge on a healing stat, and that's going to be the game. Jamili doing an excellent job. He also had Presence of Mind up at the end, so they had that follow-up CC, just not letting healing stat heal.
Yeah, really well done from Tempo Storm, catching Skill Cap EU off guard and taking game number 1. And if that doesn't swing the voting polls, I don't know what will, but Jamili is showing his stuff here, playing the Arcane spec on the BlizzCon stage and doing great in game number 1 against Skill Cap.
It's incredible. Like I said, it's so amazing to see the new meta sort of evolve right before BlizzCon, and these guys have been practicing while they're here in California to make sure that they can play it, and it end up paying dividends for these guys. And Tempo Storm taking the first game in this best of 5 against Skill Cap EU.
Yeah, what an incredible game. Now, it does mean that Skill-Capped is going to have the map pick next, and of course, then Tempo Storm can react to that map pick with their comp, and then knowing Tempo Storm's comp, Skill-Capped is going to be able to choose off of that. Do you think there's anything that Skill-Capped can throw at this?
Well,
at this point?
additionally to the RMD, pardon me, they do have that God Camp, so they can play with Pry, play the Shadow Priest, the Frost Mage, and the Holy Paladin. That might be something that works against Arcane. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen that matchup before, and I don't think they have either, so they'll end up going blinded to that, but it might end up working better for them.
Yeah, but we do have our Windows 10 game DVR replay over with Jackson to catch all the action.
Thanks, guys. Wow, we brought out the Arcane again. Now, we knew this was something that Tempo Storm had been practicing, but it was a little bit ineffective last week at the BlizzCon opening week tournaments. But this time, they swapped Peekaboo over to his comfortable spec, which is Subtlety, and was a lot more effective. Take a look at this replay. So, one of the cool things about Arcane, we talked about it a little bit already, is the fact that Spell Steal obviously removes a friendly buff from the target. With the Resto Druid, a lot of their friendly buffs are healing over time effects. So the Mage is effectively stealing all the healing that the enemy team's Resto Druid can do, while using a glyph that also heals them themselves, oftentimes. So all this healing that Healing Set is trying to do is actually just being removed by the Arcane Mage, while consistent damage is being pumped out by Jamili. And of course, Peekaboo is doing an excellent job of shutting down those red buff killing sprees that Pry is known for. And I think that's why they were able to take that first game so handily. It's going to really be up to Skill-Capped to respond to this Arcane move, but I think Tempo Storm's looking pretty good so far. Let's get into this next match, throw it back to the casters.
All right, thank you very much, Jackson. Yeah, the big thing to note in that game when we saw Elite trying to save his bubble, he was able to mitigate most of that damage from that killing spree because the killing spree was shut down now that you can get crowd controlled on it. So that was a great play during that game.
Yeah, one of the reasons this setup works, as a Frost Mage, you have Deep Freeze, so a lot of time you use your Deep Freeze before you Polymorph and before you use Ring of Frost, and that's how you get your crowd control. The good thing about having a Holy Paladin as Arcane, because you do not have Deep Freeze, they can run in, use that Fist of Justice, and that sort of sets up your CC. You can use the Evanesce, like I was saying, or you can use the Presence of Mind, and there's not too much the enemy Resto Druid can do about it. It's an instant cast, or you're immune to being interrupted. So if they execute it right and they play well, it's really hard for them to deal with that crowd control.
And because you have that Holy Paladin, you're also going to have the Aura Mastery or the Devotion Aura to make the cast uninterrupted. So just adding all those little moving parts to this comp by swapping in that Arcane.
If we could talk about our opinions all day, but let's take a look at what the captains of these teams have to say.
Hi, I'm Ville. I'm the team captain of Skill-Capped EU.
Ville has been a very responsible team captain, but I'm not 100% we would all be here in one piece with all our equipment if it wasn't for him.
My role as team captain is probably like holding the team together.
Tries to help us out in game. Sometimes it's good, sometimes we don't like it.
If something's going wrong, I can like suggest something. Like when they're tilting, I'm there to like cool them down.
Because we can get kind of mad in game, especially if it doesn't go as well as we hoped.
I'm there to win for my team.
My name is Elite. I've been playing Holy Pally. I have a good opportunity now to fill my role when my team needs me there as the Holy Pally.
So yeah, Elite's a great team captain. He hasn't actually lost a single game, I don't think. The whole regionals. He's very responsible. He helps a lot with strategies and which targets, classes to play, comps to play.
He's good at handing out water to us when we need it, so that's...
I'm just trying to deal with my teammates just like being goofballs, so that's just a pretty big role of just making sure they're staying on top of things.
Elite mostly just has to make sure we don't die, and that if we overextend, we actually pull back so we don't die.
Yeah, I think for the most part, our team is good on just practicing when we need to, because when we need to practice RMD, we're always facing comps that we need to fight.
All right, thank you very much for that video. Again, so exciting for this matchup now that we know our first game is out of the way. And of course, we do have Jackson standing by in the audience for some interviews.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm joined by a few very special guests. I think you guys were cheering pretty hard for a particular player up there. Let's see, who's your favorite in here?
Oh, wealthy man, wealthy man.
And what is your relation to Wealthy Man?
He's our grandson.
Aww. So, this is Mom right here. Well, how proud are you of your son right now?
I am so proud of Wealthy Man. It's such an honor to be here. And all parents should tell their sons and daughters to play video games.
Hear that, guys? Yeah, so that's interesting. So was there a point in which we were like, son, you're playing way too much video games? Or were you like, you know what? I believe in you?
A little bit of both. I mean, I've always known Marcel's been gifted, so just a little bit of both. I have told him to go to bed before early. He was pretty young when he started, so we're just so proud of him. Cheers to Cloud9.
Awesome. Well, of course, World of Warcraft is a game that allows you to pursue your dreams, and it's great that you're supporting your son and doing what he likes to do, and I think it's showing that he's doing a pretty good job. Anyway, we're going to get back to these games, throw it back to the casters.
All right, thank you very much, Jackson. That was a great interview.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all been told to go to bed when we've been staying up a little bit too late playing World of Warcraft. I know, of course, I have.
All right, and we do have the draft ready for the second round. We'll have to see what map and comps these teams have picked.
Yeah, so looking at it, looks like Skill Cap EU is, of course, going to be using that Paladin Mage Shadow Priest. So they're deciding to actually switch it up a little bit right now. They're going to hope that this works against Temple Storm. They're going to be running the same thing, the Arcane Mage, the Subtlety Rogue, and the Holy Paladin. Looks like they're also going to be taking it to Runes of Warderon.
Yeah, this will be interesting because we're not going to have a Resto Druid healing them, so maybe this Holy Paladin play is the smart move. We'll have to find out if he is going to be playing Sacred Shield, if he'll be using that, because that is also something that can be spell stolen.
Well, the other thing is that Peekaboo is like the only viable kill target really on the side of Tempo Storm, so switching to a Holy Paladin Shatter play is the best comp to be able to kill a rogue in the game is probably this one right here. So this is the first time Valet has actually been played a game from the regionals or here to BlizzCon. Elite actually just got his first win. Jamili was kind of sarcastically saying that Elite hasn't dropped a single game, but that was his first tournament win actually in reality.
He still hasn't dropped a game.
No, he still hasn't.
I like that they give little jabs to him. Despite not playing this tournament that much, of course, now when he's needed on the BlizzCon stage, he is showing up, doing an excellent job. And we're going to have to see how these guys play. Like I said, this isn't a matchup I've seen too often. We're going to be looking for same thing, Jamili and Elite setting up that crowd control on the healing stat. I expect a Valet actually being the main target for Skill Cap, or for Tempo Storm, pardon me.
Yeah, we can see Tempo Storm currently in stealth at the moment, crossing the map. Skill Cap EU staying back defensively in their room at the moment. I'm curious to see what the target selection is going to be from Tempo Storm. Are they going to continue going after Raikou, or are they going to switch it up and go after Valet as they move forward? Hodge over on the healing side, Sap onto Valet. Raikou is going to be the initial target here as he goes into the Growth Silence over and over. Palm Poly over onto healing stat. Do they have the damage to follow it up is the question. Valet tricketing out of that kidney shot. I'm curious if they're going to be able to swap to Valet later on with a smoke bomb. We see a bit of a setup here coming out onto Jamili, but he didn't even dip down below 50%. He's able to get back to the tomb and just heal himself back with those spell steals.
I like what Valet and Raikou are doing though. They're switching over the pressure onto DJ Peekaboo, making sure that no one on Tempo Storm feels safe. Elite having to use that Avenging Wrath, going to be empowering his heals, able to easily top off Peekaboo. But once that cooldown fades, that's going to be when Raikou and Valet look to capitalize offensively.
Jamili has already used one of his Evanesce, so he has used his Cold Snap.
Palm Sheep over on a healing stat, and we can see Raikou dipping dangerously low there. This could be the first ice block from Skill Cap. He's down to 28%. Healing stat getting sapped out of the Polymer. Peekaboo there for the follow-up. Healing stat actually going to bop himself out as the Save by the Light procs. Aura Master used. A lot of cooldowns blown out from Skill Cap. Can they reverse the pressure? Jamili always positioning really well, even going for the first aid behind the pillar as they switch over onto Peekaboo. Like Vendergu was saying, trying to make sure that nobody feels safe at the moment. Peekaboo down to 65% HP. Elite is no longer crowd controlled, able to get the heals rolling as Tempo Storm look to set up again onto Skill Cap to you, but healing stat, I believe, pre-sacrificed the Polymorph. Are they going to be able to get it off in time? Deep Freeze over onto Elite. Peekaboo is down at 30% HP. Elite needs to be able to pick him up back here. He's down at 30%. Elite goes into the full fear. He pre-sacrifices, but it does get removed by Skill Cap, and Peekaboo is in so much trouble.
Yeah, he did have to use that Cloak of Shadows there. One of the things about an Arcane Mage, too, is he is able to offensively spell steal like we've been talking about. He's able to remove this buff as well. It also hurts the Frost Mage damage. You can remove the Brain Freeze procs, you can remove the Icy Veins, and it sort of shuts down Raikou's burst just by spell stealing, in addition to going offensive and removing those hots. Peekaboo still low, though, down to 40% HP. Elite having a really hard time healing. He does have his Trinket and Bubble available. He's going to use that Bubble. Save the Light proccing onto Peekaboo as well. They want to go aggressive, though. Here's the Shadow Dance coming out. Jamili going aggressive onto Valet. The Hodge Polymorph onto healing stat. Decides to bubble that right away. So now healing stat caught in a position where he has no Trinket, no Bubble, and the only defensive cooldown they have ready to go on Skill Cap EU is that Dispersion.
Yep, Tempo Storm are going to pull back here defensively, knowing that Peekaboo doesn't have a trinket. Elite does not have his as well. But they do lead. Healing Stat has nothing left for the next setup. Elite just needs to use that bubble and play aggressively like he did last time. There's the silence. How is Elite going to react to the situation? It completely relies on Elite's shoulders at the moment. He goes into the deep freeze. He's going to bubble immediately, trying to pick Peekaboo back up, and Tempo Storm is going to be saved. Elite is not going to throw the game here. Now Tempo Storm need to reverse the pressure. There's the Hodge over onto Healing Stat. They need to connect onto Valet. They need to try and force a dispersion out here with that kidney shot. Valet is going to trick it out. He's sitting pretty. Healing Stat pops the Avenging Wrath as he does go into that full polymorph with Mass Dispelled out from Valet, and Skillcap are looking so good in this position.
Yeah, they did a good job shutting down the first Mass Dispel, trying to get off Elite's bubble, but unfortunately Valet was able to get the polymorph onto Healing Stat, so Tempo Storm not going to be able to build up too much pressure from that. Jamili, of course, does have one Evanesce left. Elite caught into the full fear, into a deep freeze, though. This could be the end for Peekaboo. Caught into that disarm, down to 50% HP. Is at the last second, the Cloak of Shadows comes out. Elite's going to be able to top him off more than likely here, but that's a lot of cooldowns once again forced off from Tempo Storm.
Yeah, we see Jamili trying to get a sheep. He does manage to land it. Valet going into that full kidney shot. Shadow Dance gets popped. They're looking to try and get a dispersion here. They need more damage to follow it up. Valet down to 60%, caught into the Garrote Silence. That's going to be fading here shortly. Polymorph's followed up. Well done from Jamili, chaining the CC into the Frost Jaw. He's going for the Master Spell on. Doesn't even really need to get it there. And Valet is going to stabilize, and they still haven't got to disperse. Raikou has both blocks. Healing Stats Trinket is coming up, and Tempo Storm are on their back foot for the rest of this game, I think.
Yeah, Peekaboo, of course, does have his trinket coming up in 14 seconds, as well as Elite, so they're going to have to make sure that they don't overlap, but this could be the kill right here. Skillcap going for it, the full Hodge onto Peekaboo. Peekaboo still doesn't have his trinket up for 5 seconds. They might be able to capitalize on this. No Cloak of Shadows available as well. Shredding through the save, but they like the full fear onto Elite. Peekaboo needs to get out of it. Elite trinketing, actually not trinketing, he saves it, gets the sack onto Peekaboo. So Peekaboo as well as Elite both have their trinket up. Avenging Wrath coming out from Elite. Peekaboo's going to get topped off right now. They're looking to go aggressive onto Valet. Healing Stat caught into that polymorph, actually decides to trinket into a re-polymorph. Valet going to be okay at the moment.
I can't believe Elite held on to his trinket during that engagement.
Yeah, it was a really close call. I mean, I think the fear actually ended up breaking to maybe the cascade damage out from Valet, unfortunately. So Elite holds onto his trinket, trying to turn back the cooldown lead that was in favor for Skillcap to use. Shadow Dance out from Peekaboo, looking to try and set up a kill onto Valet. Burst following it up, down to 30% HP. Jamili going so ham at the moment. Healing Stat gets locked on his cast there by Jamili as they look to rotate the pressure, though, onto Peekaboo as he's caught into that Horrify. Healing Stat needs to chain that Hodge. Elite is no longer crowd control. There's the deep freeze. There's the Hodge to follow it up. He pre-faints it. It's going to be fading in 1 more second. Does Elite trinket is the question. Peekaboo's going to trade the Cloak of Shadows, and Tempo Storm are a cooldown wall. Even when they run out of nothing, they're always positioning very well to stay in the game this far.
I like the fact that Peekaboo is actually playing that Orc too. A lot of these Hodges have been shorter duration, or all of them have, so it gives them the opportunity to get off that Cloak of Shadows and not having to use that trinket because of that racial. Healing Stat now actually caught into a full polymorph. Still no bubble, no trinket available for another minute. Valet looking to pull back, trying to line of sight some of Jamili's damage. Raikou doing an excellent job shutting down Jamili, throwing out those Frost Spells and those polymorphs just so we can't get out that damage and Valet can kite and survive.
One thing to note is Healing Stat is going to be playing Clemency, and Elite is going to be playing Unbreakable Spirit. He must predict that he's going to be crowd controlled.
Swap over on to Elite right now. He's caught into the Hodge. He has bubble available. They're going to get it, I think, here for free. He's trying to go for the Word of Glory. He gets the cast off. Shadow Dance out from Peekaboo, trying to reverse the pressure as Elite tries to get to a pillar. Now forced to pop the Avenging Wrath. He's going to have to bubble as well. They force the dispersion, though, out from Valet finally, and there might be a little bit of a kill window here for the team of Tempo Storm if they can lock the crowd control onto Healing Stat here moving forward. Smoke Bomb is available. Valet has no trinket and no dispersion. Elite needs to be able to stay alive. He's running into the room desperately. He should be able to pick himself up here. Valet actually overextending. He does land a fear onto 2. However, Peekaboo really needs to try and get that stun Smoke Bomb out before Elite ends up going down. He's caught into the Horrify. Does Healing Stat have the Hodge? He follows it up with the Hodge. Elite is forced to trinket. Tries to dispel Peekaboo out. They're trying to reverse the pressure. Healing Stat goes into the Hodge. This could be the kill despite Elite being so low. The full kidney shot over onto Valet. Peekaboo needs the damage to follow it up. The full polymorph immediately is going to be trinketed by Healing Stat, and Bop over onto Valet, and Skillcap to you are going to answer that setup perfectly.
Edgemill's going to remove that Bop right away, but the kill has been lost. Although there is a full blind on the Healing Stat, if they can capitalize on this. Valet trying to get away, just Peekaboo on his back. Edgemilly not able to get too much damage out, just throwing out as much crowd control as possible. The death from above, though, coming crashing in from Peekaboo. Valet down to 50% HP. The Frost Jaw, pardon me, onto Healing Stat at the moment. Valet should be okay. Healing Stat able to get out those casts at the moment. Top off Valet very quickly. Peekaboo now caught into that full Hodge. Does have trinket if he needs it. Elite not in any crowd control at the moment. Bubble coming up for him. him, as well as Trinket in a minute, so he doesn't have any cooldowns left for another minute. And Elite's in a lot of trouble here. Could go down. Well, disarm into silence if he gets followed up by Hodge. This could just be the game. Shredding through that save on the right block. The DR deep freeze. Actually, the full deep freeze coming in. He does get that divine protection off, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. 16% HP, trying to get away, get off those casts. The War of Void comes up. He's going to survive, and now they want to go aggressive onto Raikou. The Hodge going out onto healing stat. Raikou getting dangerously low. He does have one ice block, but he's on that hypothermia. Because of that, healing stat has to use his bubble to keep up Raikou.
Yeah, and Tempo Storm again hanging on by the skin of their teeth. They're actually swapping over onto Jamili. He does not have ice block as this specialization. He's actually in a lot of trouble. Down to 30% HP, trying to stay alive. Saved by the Light is going to proc. He's trying to get the defensive polymorphs out. Forced to spell steal now as well. He goes for the counter spell, but it was faked by Raikou. He lands the full sheet. Jamili's completely alone. He's stuck in the room. Peekaboo going into God mode, Peel mode at the moment. Garrote's onto both of them, and they're not able to reconnect. Jamili still dangerously low, down at 27%, trying to stay alive in the room. Elite is still crowd control, and Jamili is going to fall. And SkillCap2U are going to tie the series up 1-1.
Wow, what a game.
Yeah, what a game indeed. Now, as Tempo Storm, what do you do? If you can't play the Arcane spec because SkillCap's just going to counter them, are you kind of forced to play RMD in this position?
I think they're going to God Comp Mirror.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think there's a little bit of mind games going on, and because Tempo Storm got the win on the first map, it means they can kind of always counter or mirror. So they're really putting a lot of weight, though, on Peekaboo's shoulders if they are intending to play with him on Shadow Priest. We saw Healing Stat switching to his ult on Holy Paladin, really taking advantage of the 4-player roster in that last matchup, which was great to see. He did a great job despite there being a lot of stressful moments. Both teams answered with the correct cooldowns over and over and over, and despite even Elite having nothing left at the end, he was able to stay alive in a miracle situation, but not long enough, and Jamili will end up falling in game number 2 as we tie the series up to 1-1 and move into game number 3.
Wow, 1-1, semifinals, best of 5. This is such an exciting situation for both teams.
Yeah, and this, like we said, whoever loses this series is eliminated from the tournament. So tournament life on the line in these next couple of games. We're going to be looking to see what Tempo Storm does in response. Are we going to have Peekaboo lock onto that Shadow Priest and end up seeing a mirror? Yeah, I think it's likely. I think it's their only option at this point. If they don't think RMD is a great shot against God Comp and the Arcane Dream isn't necessarily working out for them, they might be caught in a situation where Peekaboo has to play Shadow Priest.
Fortunately, they do have the draft in their favor, which means they're going to pick their map, which isn't going to really tell too much, and then SkillCap2U lock in their composition. So if they lock in RMD, then Tempo Storm just locks in the Arcane. If they lock in the God Comp, then they're going to lock in the God Comp Mirror. And as long as their Mirror is on point, I think that Tempo Storm could take this series. SkillCap2U, obviously, though, looking very dominant on that. Despite not having fought Arcane very much, they looked very polished in that matchup.
Yeah, it's something, of course, they practice a lot. And I think if I was SkillCap going in this position, I would just end up playing the God Comp. It has the best chance against all the compositions that they can run. So it's likely that that is what they end up selecting, unless they know something that I don't.
All right, and we do have Jackson standing by with our Windows 10 game DVR replay.
Thanks, guys. How about these teams, huh? These games are insane. Oh, my goodness. When you have two powerhouse teams face off like this at BlizzCon, these are the kind of games you're hoping for. Let's take a look at this replay. So, going into the match, you heard the casters mention how the main setup for Holy Pally God Comp against RMD is to mainly target the rogue. But Tempo Storm did an excellent job rotating their cooldowns, using line of sight when they didn't have cooldowns to survive. But with a really nice swap over to Elite, they forced a lot of cooldowns out of Tempo Storm's Paladin Elite. And Jamili, even though Arcane mages are usually known to be extremely tanky, that's mostly against classes that they can spell steal HOTS from. With nothing to spell steal and with Elite out of cooldowns, Jamili was left all by himself, trying to bandage, trying to do everything he can to survive. Peekaboo peeling like an absolute beast, but SkillCap2U were able to make way into the room where Jamili was hiding and take him out. So that was an absolutely incredible game. And look for some little cool plays. Like these guys, you don't really see a lot of Horde PvP players nowadays. So look for little cool things like Jamili will blink in, silence the mage, and then polymorph him out to peel. Really cool stuff going on. Awesome game so far. I cannot wait to get to the next one. Take it away, casters.
There's something interesting that I saw on that replay was that Jamili actually got into the room and got his invisibility off, but there was a water elemental bolt already in the air that hit him and popped him out of stealth. And if he actually got into stealth, there would have had no way to directly find him, and he might have been able to survive.
I was actually wondering what was going on because I saw him actually have no dots whatsoever, get the invisibility off, and then it was just gone. So I'm glad you caught that.
And that's why we have that replay.
Yep, exactly.
All right, but we are just waiting for the choices. This is such an important decision in this matchup, especially because there's so many different comps that Tempo Storm can throw at them.
Yeah, both teams having a lot of compositions available to them, but I think SkillCap2U are really hitting their stride, and they know that they need to play this Holy Paladin God Comp, and they've been having success with it.
But let's take a look at what you guys think. Obviously, you've been voting throughout the series to see which one of these teams is actually going to take it. And it looks like it's swinged in the reverse favor now. You guys are supporting Tempo Storm over Skill-Capped EU. Curious to see if that's actually true moving forward in this series, if you guys are going to predict this right or not, because this is a nail-biter. I'm not even sure 100% who's going to take this series.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. It's tough for both teams. They're both great players. I mean, proving themselves. They made it through the semifinals at this point. Wow.
Yep, we have a video here of the teams available. We can get more words on their opinions of this matchup.
Our team's probably one of the most experienced teams here.
I feel like we are the most dedicated players.
We practice a lot.
Healing stat is cooling us down in the games when we heat up and maybe lose, and then he's like, yeah, okay, don't worry guys, just go next.
Keeping a level head and keeping everyone on track for ultimately $120,000.
Raiku's probably taking the role of getting all the practice ready.
The one thing I did for our team the most, for our team, was setting up games against the comps that we'll be playing here at BlizzCon.
Prey is like the strat guy. If our strat doesn't work, he's always there to think about a new one.
There is like no team I'm really scared of because we can beat everyone here.
My role as team captain is probably like holding the team together.
Ville has been a very responsible team captain.
Being ruthless is pretty important.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes we don't like it.
I think we should win BlizzCon.
If we were to win BlizzCon, it would be because we have probably some of the best players around the world, each at the best of our class, but also because we're playing at least two of the best comps that are in the entire game. So if we were to add those two together, then we'd probably have one of the best shots at winning.
I think we're better than the other teams, mainly because of our coach, Hodded. You know, he helps a lot with strategies and, you know, which targets, classes to play, comps to play, scopes out the competition.
If our team plays well and the other team plays how they should play, then we win most of the games.
All right, great to hear from those players, and they both sound really confident.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what these guys are actually going to be running in this matchup, and I do believe we have the draft available so we can see what map Tempo Storm will, the composition that they've selected for this up-and-coming game. It looks like Tempo Storm's going to be sticking with the same thing. They are going to be running that Holy Paladin, that Subtlety Rogue, and that Arcane Mage. Maybe they feel like the last map wasn't ideal for them, so taking advantage of Tolvaron, a little bit bigger of a map, is going to be able to line of sight. Skill-Capped EU running that Holy Pally God comp once again, so mirror match of the last game, just a little bit of a different map.
I really like that Skill-Capped EU mixed it up through the entire game, attacking different targets, realizing that Tempo Storm was going to rotate their cooldowns too effectively against them, constantly going after Peekaboo, so they just switched the damage over onto Elite for a limited amount of time, then switched it over to Jamili, and I think they really caught Tempo Storm off guard, as typically as the Arcane Mage, you're the last target the enemy team wants to be attacking.
Yeah, as that Shadow Priest Mage Holy Pally setup, you can really capitalize on anyone that doesn't have their PvP trinket available. They will get disarmed into the full Fist of Justice, and at the same time, their healer will be CC'd, so it makes it really hard to survive, and they have to make sure that they're rotating their cooldowns properly. Of course, that Holy Pally having the bubble as well as the trinket, very, very nice. Playing something like a Resto Druid or Priest, you only have the PvP trinket, so having that additional break is really nice against something like this.
I'm really curious to see how the rest of this series is going to play out. We're currently tied 1-1 between Tempo Storm and Skill-Capped EU, fighting it out for the North American region and fighting it out for the European region. Who's going to come out ahead? We can see that Tempo Storm has decided to lead with their Arcane Mage, a Subtlety Rogue, Holy Paladin composition, where Skill-Capped EU are going to, you know, don't fix what isn't broken. They just took a win. They're going to stick with the tried and true and allow Valet continuing to play on that Shadow Priest.
And Elite is going to be playing that Unbreakable Spirit yet again, so he's going to have the lower cooldown on the Divine Protection and most importantly, the Divine Shield.
Yeah, and Peekaboo is going to be using that Shroud of Concealment, trying to pull back, get an ideal opener. Jamili actually going into stealth. Unfortunately, once the Shroud fades, Elite is going to be susceptible to being put into combat, and that's going to allow Healing Stat to not get sapped. So Raikou wants to push in, get combat onto Elite. I think he's able to actually do it, so now they're just going to be trading combat, and Peekaboo won't be able to get a sap.
Yeah, curious Mind Seer play from Valet, trying to pop somebody out. Doesn't find it just yet. Cheap shot onto Raikou, cheap shot onto Valet. He trinkets right away and goes into the Spectral Guise. Lands a full fear onto Elite. I'm curious who they're going to set up on. Jamili is caught into the Hodge at the moment. Healing Stat throwing out some denounces. Maybe they're going to switch over to Peekaboo in that Horrify, but they don't have anything to follow it up. Elite lands the full Hodge on the Healing Stat. Jamili is down at half HP, not able to continue the CC on the Healing Stat. Unfortunately, now caught in the silence. Nice dispel actually out from Elite there. Both these teams kind of stabling off here, and Valet really getting the brunt of it, forced to use his trinket early on.
And not too many cooldowns popped out from Temple Storm at the beginning of the game. Jamili still has all his offensive cooldowns. Arcane Power actually coming out right now, as well as the Shadow Dance. They want to make something happen on the Valet. The full polymorph on a healing stat, the DR polymorph coming out of that. It actually broke. I'm not sure what broke that right there. Able to get off that huge heal with the Wings execution sentence onto Valet, so he's going to be completely fine. Elite being turned down to now by Skill Cap, though, trying to put a lot of pressure on him, trying to force out some cooldowns. He's trying to get away the best he can, trying to get that pillar. Saved by the Light, unfortunately proccing, but that's all. That was a good trade for him.
Yeah, one of the weaknesses of Tempo Storm is that Elite has to push in to land the Hodge as long as healing stat is at a line. They go for the full blind, but I think he might have pre-sacrificed it. The blind is going to break. He does get counterspelled from Jamili, but there's a silence now over onto Jamili. Elite actually getting locked out there as well. Now Blink into the deep freeze. Are they able to land the sheep in time? Doesn't look like they're going to be able to get it. Raikou is cheap shot up, but Valet is there for the follow-up fear. Are they going to swap over to Elite? He's fully dotted, getting bursted down hard. This could be the bubble out from him. Caught into the Horrify. He's going to have to bubble and overlap his shield wall here, and the on-use trinket. A lot of cooldowns out from Elite. The next setup could be his trinket, and then after that, his life.
Yeah, healing stat actually caught into that Fist of Justice. Well done by Elite, knowing that he's low, but he needs to keep his team aggressive, getting that CC on the healing stat. Healing stat actually having to trinket there, so another cooldown that Tempo Storm is slowly working through. Healing stat really only having his bubble Valet, of course having that disperse as well. So Skill Cap having a lot of defensive cooldowns, but Tempo Storm slowly chipping away at each other.
Yeah, but Tempo Storm is totally on the back foot in this game. They've just been reacting to what's going on. We saw Peekaboo using that Shadow Dance to just peel.
Yeah, we can see Elite actually getting put into that full fear. Now caught into the deep freeze as they are going to swap over, but I think that overlap of the stun and the Horrify is going to allow Elite to easily survive as Peekaboo sets up a kill over onto Raikou. He's dipping down to 20%. That's going to be an instant ice block out from Raikou. Healing stat still caught into the Hodge, caught into the Polymorph. Can Jamili follow it up? Are they going to keep the pressure rolling? Mass Dispel comes through. Valet actually missing his Mass Dispel there, unfortunately, so Healing stat is going to have to sit through this. He will be able to get the heals off there with that Execution Sense and stabilize Raikou, but Tempo Storm burning through another block and another cooldown on the side of Skill Cap.
Jamili has his Arcane Power available to him, so if they can get a setup again onto Raikou and he can capitalize on that and get off some cast, Raikou's going to have to be very careful, make sure he can get to that line of sight, because if Jamili has Arcane with Arcane Power and just precast, it's going to be big trouble.
Ooh, another setup onto Elite. He's gotten to that silence, but he did get the shield wall up just before the silence. Elite doing a good job to react to these constant swaps as we see a healing stat into the Polymorph. Smoke Bomb gets dropped over onto Raikou. He does have one more ice block available. They're trying to hold onto it. They don't want to overlap the Avenging Wrath and the block because the next setup could be a kill. He's still down at 50% HP, getting locked on that poly, but healing stat should be able to pick him up with these spam casted heals. We see the Arcane Blast after Arcane Blast, but not enough. Elite caught into the full fear. Are they going to swap? They're actually going on to Peekaboo. He has no trinket available. Caught into a full Fist of Justice, down to 46%. Elite pre-sacrifices the incoming CC though, and Elite is going to keep his team alive, rotating the pressure now back in their favor as the full Hodge connects onto healing stat. Kidney shot over onto Raikou. They're trying to get a block. Life grip of the Sentry is going to save Raikou. Valet doing a great job here, not able to get the Master Spell though. However, healing stat still getting Polymorph. This could be the second block out from Raikou. He's desperately trying to stay alive. Pops the Ice Veins, actually gets himself a full Polymorph onto Elite, trying to make a setup over here onto Peekaboo, who does have his trinket available and Cloak of Shadows here, so he should be able to survive as long as he reacts appropriately.
And Elite's bubble is coming back up in 15 seconds, so he's made it back to that moment. But wings are available for use too. The DJ Peekaboo taking a bunch of damage, throwing out the blind, and healing stat is going to sit it. Nope, there we go. Instant trinket onto it as the Shadow Dance is still ticking down, doing a little bit of damage, but Peekaboo's in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. But Valet's also in a little bit of trouble. The full sheep, though, on the healing stat, he decides to bubble that instantly. Valet going to save his disperse. Save by the Light, I think, procced as well. Raikou actually getting cheap out, swapping over onto him. Jamili trying to get out a lot of damage. The Arcane Missiles come crashing in. The triple fear, though, by Valet, going to be disrupting the offense of Temple Storm. They want to turn around the pressure. The full sheep out of that fear onto Elite. Peekaboo in a lot of trouble right now. Has no trinket, no Cloak of Shadows. Elite's going to have to do something. Potentially trinket and dispel the Hodge. He gets out of that CC, no follow-up. Uses that Avenging Wrath. Execution Sentence going top off Elite for now. Now Valet in a little bit of trouble. Still has his disperse if he needs it. He needs to make sure he doesn't get too low though. Healing stat into the Polymorph right now. Valet doing the best he can to line of sight. Doesn't want to take any damage from Jamili, but Peekaboo just laying it on him. Unfortunately, healing stat's going to get out of that crowd control. Use that Avenging Wrath and top off Valet, and they weren't able to force the disperse or the trinket.
Oh, that fear though.
Another setup over onto Jamili. He's not playing Ice Block, getting caught off guard and getting bursted down. And Skill Cap TU are going to take a lead 2-1 over Tempo Storm in this best of 5 series. Peekaboo's not going to be giving up just yet. Now finally leaving the game, realizing that it is lost, and Skill Cap TU are going to take a lead.
That fear.
Skill Cap said surprise. Elite had all his cooldowns left. He had that Avenging Wrath up, he had Bubble, he had Trinket. So I don't know. That's just a lot of damage coming in. They weren't able to react really, and unfortunately, Jamili will go down.
And this is so dangerous for Tempo Storm right now. Not only is it one game away from losing at this point, but that was their pick.
Yeah.
now they're on the back foot in terms of trying to counter, but I think they're really relying on the Arcane. Maybe they do get Starship over onto Drew, but I don't know how they're going to fare with RMD into this GodCon. Valet is playing excellently, actually, just knows how to deal with every situation very well, and despite being his first time playing on a tournament stage, is outperforming his opponents at the moment, so I'm curious to see how Tempo Storm is going to react.
It's seeming like Arcane, one of the disadvantages is line of sight. I mean, if he's not able to get off those casts, not able to get off those Arcane missiles, not able to get up those spell steals, he can't really get out the damage he needs and follow up his CC at the same time. A lot of the damage is casted, so it makes it difficult. And if you're just line of sighting and you're not able to take off their HOTS, your damage isn't as high as Frost.
Yeah, they were having a lot of problems connecting together. You know, Jamili was doing a lot of crowd control, you know, doing his normal motions, lots of spell stealing. But every Shadow Dance that came up by Peekaboo, I don't think that Jamili was on the same target very often.
There was one point actually towards the end that Jamili did a great job shutting down Raikou, actually sheeping him on his deep so he wasn't able to follow up CC onto Elite, which set up the situation later, like you were saying, where Elite still had all of his cooldowns and just didn't react appropriately. And obviously both these teams need to make next to no mistakes to get caught off with less cooldowns than the opposing team moving forward. So Elite tried to play it out a little bit greedy and ended up biting him in the butt.
Yeah, that's one of the things about these games that's really interesting. A lot of the time, as a caster, you can see and sort of work through their cooldowns and figure out when they're going to get a kill. But these games, I mean, the damage is just so high, and these guys are playing sort of untraditional specs. You don't know exactly what's going on, and really anything can happen. We saw that the last game, Jamili kind of unexpectedly going down, Elite still having all his cooldowns ready and available to go.
Yeah, and that's one great thing that Elite has been doing in Healing Stat is that they're trying to not use that bubble, trying to not use that trinket, even when they're getting attacked. There was so many times when Peekaboo would get dangerously low and Elite would just want to sit through the crowd control instead of using the trinket instantly.
All right, guys, but we have our Windows 10 game DVR replay. Let's jump on over.
Thanks, guys. Another amazing match of Skillcapped EU versus Tempo Storm. You know, these guys are definitely giving it their all here. But one of the cool things about this match, we can take a look at the replay while we talk about it, is it seems like they're sort of feeling each other out a lot. They're swapping targets quite a bit, trying to find weaknesses, because I'm wondering if Skillcapped EU doesn't have a whole lot of experience practicing against Arcane. You know, this is one of those specs that really just came into popularity in the past couple weeks or so, leading into BlizzCon. So, you know, Tempo Storm have picked it up. They've played it to some amount of success, and they're doing a great job in these matches as well. They're forcing, you know, ice blocks out of Raikou. They're forcing Villi into very defensive positions, into dispersions as well. But one of the things that ends up happening here is Jamili does get caught in a really bad position, and oftentimes he is using his blink as an offensive tool to secure CC. But one of the things about Arcane, one of the things that the casters are mentioning, is that they use the talent Evanesce, which makes them immune for a short period of time, but you also lose the ice block ability. So when you find yourselves caught in really rough positions like that, you don't really have a whole lot to get yourself out of them. So I don't think that's a mistake that Tempo Storm is going to make again, but they do have to play for their BlizzCon dreams right now, because they are one game away from elimination. This game is going to be absolutely epic. I cannot wait to get down to it. Let's go ahead and throw it back to the casters and get it going.
All right, thank you, Jackson, again for that replay breakdown. And one of the things to note is I think I saw some characters being swapped out. You know, we have them all on battle tag at this point, and I do think I saw Elite and maybe Peekaboo changing.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention about that matchup was Jamili was playing a glyph called Rapid Displacement. Makes it so your blink has 2 charges instead of 1, but you can no longer break roots, bonds, and stuns. So he actually got caught into a full hodge. He might have had his blink available, but they were able to capitalize on the fact that he was using that glyph. Gives him more mobility. It's harder for them to actually catch him. He's able to run away, but at the same time, you can no longer get out of those stuns.
Yeah, I don't think all of us really can. Let's just take a moment and understand the full magnitude of this potential game. We could be determining one of our grand finalists and eliminating one team just in this next game alone. So if you want Tempo Storm to stay in it, they need your energy. This is their last chance.
All right, really, really excited for this match. We're going to give the players a little bit of time because they have to sit through the draft at this point. You know, the team captains really have to make an extremely tough decision at this point.
Of course, with their tournament lives on the line, this is BlizzCon. All of these players want to come win the title of BlizzCon champion, as well as a ton of money, $120,000 going out to first place today. So these guys need to really make sure they're making the right decision and they can be confident going into the next game.
Yeah, and we do have the draft set up so we can determine what this final stage is going to bring us. Potentially final stage. Tempo Storm not completely out of it, but we can see that they are going to be playing a mirror to my understanding here. So Tempo Storm is going to try and get the mirror going on against Skillcap EU. How is Peekaboo going to stack up against Valet? Valet's just been looking awesome in the games that he's played so far today.
That grip last game was incredible. So, I mean, it's tough. You go against a Shadow Priest that's this good, and you're going head-to-head. We know that Shadow isn't Peekaboo's main spec that he plays, but he has been playing it a lot.
He plays it a lot. I've lost to him many times on the ladder playing at the upper echelon, so he definitely knows what he's doing. Jamilian Elite, of course, also playing with other Shadow Priests, so they know what Peekaboo needs to be doing, and because of that, they can sort of guide him and make sure he's doing his role in this matchup.
What's interesting to compare the regions between North America and Europe, typically in North America, in the specific mirror, you see a lot of pressure on the Shadow Priest, but over in Europe, they put a lot of pressure onto the Mage, so Jamilian is going to be under pressure, and I would expect Valet on the opposite side to be the most targeted players in the game. So Jamili and Valet really need to be on top of their stuff if they want to take the win and move forward in the BlizzCon Championship.
And the same Holy Paladin setup again. We have Elite running that Unbreakable Spirit and Healing Stat running the Clemency. So that's an interesting choice.
You guys, Tempo Storm needs your energy. Their tournament lives are on the line. Show them some love if you'd like to see Tempo Storm win, as well as see Skillcap advance. This game is about to get underway. Like we said, none of these targets are safe. Everyone can die in this matchup. Jamili taking a lot of damage. Valet actually taking a lot of damage too, getting caught into that disarm into full Fist of Justice. Healing Stat caught into full polymorph, having to trinket that right away using the Avenging Wrath. So already so many cooldowns forced out by Skillcap from Tempo Storm.
Yeah, Tempo Storm are looking very good. They've got to be careful of the next setup though. Jamili caught into that Horrify, getting bursted down hard by Skillcap to you. Gonna trade that Ice Block immediately. I'm curious to see if Valet has any more follow-up crowd control for Elite. He does. He lands the full fear. Jamili could be in trouble here as he comes out of that Ice Block down at half HP. Can they connect any pressure at the moment? Doesn't look like they can. Looks like they're going to pull back for the time being here at the moment, getting an Ice Block. Cooldown traded on both sides, but Healing Stat does only have his bubble remaining to remove crowd control.
Yeah, Jamili did an excellent job there, actually getting a full invisibility off. He was line of sight. Elite now out of CC, having that Avenging Wrath pop. Actually gets locked out. Jamili could be in a lot of trouble. Ice Block is going to be up here again. They do not want to have to force the second block, but the second block coming out, Elite did get locked out there. Jamili
MD'd the block!
Getting MD'd as well. It's still a lot of trouble. Elite actually using his bubble. That is not going to be MD'd. Finally able to get off the cast that he needs with so many cooldowns being forced out. Jamili has nothing left. All Tempo Storm is working with is Elite's Trinket.
Yeah, Raikou is down to 29% though. Tempo Storm trying to answer back, down to 20%. That's going to be the first block out from Raikou, but Skillcap EU definitely have a definitive lead at the moment. The next setup definitely is going to have to be Elite's Trinket. He's got to be careful with what he chooses to trinket at the moment. We can see Valet moving forward. Looks like he might want to try and land a triple fear. He's feathering up, he's sprinting in, he's going for it. He lands the fear onto 2. Peekaboo did manage to escape that, however. A full Hodge over onto Peekaboo. He does get dispelled immediately by Elite. The cross CC getting dropped there a little bit by Skillcap EU as they look to set up onto Jamili, but Elite's going to dispel now as well. And Skillcap EU are starting to throw.
Yeah, one of the major differences in this game is Valet is actually using the Glyph of Mass Dispel, so they do target the mage, they're able to get off that Ice Block as well as the bubble. Peekaboo is not going to have that option, and because of that, they're able to force a lot of cooldowns onto Jamili as well as Elite, so I like that their Glyph choices, little differences like that make a big difference, especially if you guys have, or if they have different strategies.
So Healing Stat had to bubble during that, plus use his wings just to keep up with the damage. So right now, his Trinket is just coming back up, but both his bubble and wings are down for the next onslaught.
Yeah, but Tempo Storm is not, they don't have anything. Cold Snap not up for another minute. If Jamili can somehow live for that minute, or they can keep them in a defensive place, but Skillcap just going to pull back. They know they have a lead. They're going to wait for their crowd control, try to build up as much damage as possible. And I assume once they're ready to go, they're going to push in and try to force something on Jamili. It's going to be up to Peekaboo and Jamili to do something to stop
we see
the CC
Peekaboo
onto
sneaking
Elite.
around, but he misses the fear on the Healing Stat, only connects it onto Raikou. Peekaboo missing that fear, and they're going to lose the potential setup. They're forced to retreat now. As a result, Valet still has his Spectral guys. He might try and go in for a sneaky fear once again. We see the Pet Nova out from Jamili trying to stop that from happening. Valet charging forward with that freedom, looking to try and set something up potentially here. Raikou into the Horrified Deep Freeze over on the Healing Stat, though. Tempo Storm looking to actually reverse it in the face of Skillcap. Raikou getting bursted down hard at the moment. Aura Mastery coming out from Healing Stat, trying to pick him up with some hard-casted heals. Jamili getting caught in the Horrified. Trinkets into a full silence. Elite getting full poly. Peekaboo getting hodged on his Master Spell. He trinkets and goes for the Master Spell. Connects it. Elite pops the Avenging Wrath. Should be able to stabilize. Tempo Storm now reversing a little bit of pressure onto Raikou still here at the moment, but Raikou is at the pillar. He should be all right. Valet getting polyed up. Double fear onto Peekaboo and the Elite at the moment. I don't think that Skillcap have any more crowd control to follow it up, and both teams are going to kind of stand off here at the moment.
Yeah, Peekaboo doing an excellent job there. That was the only defensive cooldown they had left for themselves. Peekaboo trinketing out of that crowd control, getting the MD onto Elite. He was able to use that Avenging Wrath and keep Jamili alive. Now Elite's in a position where bubbles back out, trinkets up in 15 seconds. seconds, and Temple Storm's got to be feeling good, having a lot of defensive cooldowns going forward. Raikou taking a little bit of damage on the Hodge onto Valet. Does get dispelled by Healing Stat. Healing Stat actually trinketing there. Raikou taking a little bit of damage, but there is no crowd control on the Healing Stat. Lead actually having to bubble. I'm not sure what he just bubbled there, but I'm sure it was some sort of crowd control. Jamili taking a lot of damage, down to 70% HP. Both teams sort of stabilizing, but the fear's coming out onto both Paladins right now. Elite actually deciding to trinket and dispel Jamili, wanting to keep him aggressive. Raikou has a 1 block, almost 2 blocks available. Save the light proc onto him. Healing Stat having to use his Avenging Wrath to top him off.
Yeah, Skillcap pulling back at the moment here. No bubble and no trinket on either side. It's a tense moment between these teams. Skillcap to you are 1 win away from making it to the grand finals. They do not want to end up throwing the game at the moment here. Valet pushing forward. There's pressure though onto Raikou. Healing Stat caught into a defreeze. Valet going for the pre-master spell. I think he might have actually landed it. Healing Stat now throwing the sacrifice out, and Valet is going to save his team as they look to rotate the pressure over onto Tempo Storm. Peekaboo getting locked on his MD. Full sheep onto Elite. Elite has no way out. This is surely going to be a block out from Jamili. He's trying to hold on to it as long as possible. Peekaboo off healing him, throwing out those power word shields, and somehow Jamili is still holding onto that block. Frostjaw over onto Elite. He Ore Mastery, pops the Avenging Wrath. He should be able to stabilize Jamili. Now Tempo Storm need to make something happen, but he gets full feared by Valet. Peekaboo not able to dispel that. Jamili getting bursted, down at 40% HP. Locks Raikou on the sheep though, protecting Elite from that incoming crowd control chain. Well done from Jamili.
Wow, that was an incredible amount of damage going out onto Jamili. He LOS'd so much of it and was able to save his block. That is so important for this matchup.
Yeah, once again though, Elite caught into the full CC. The Fist of Justice going out onto Peekaboo. He's not going to be able to help Jamili at all. Jamili getting dangerously low. The save by the light procs onto him. Elite has no more cooldowns left. Jamili might have to use his last ice block. At this moment, the full fear going out onto Elite. He's going to save it, but once again, Valet can MD. Doesn't look like he's going to be going for it. Just going to be happy with the fact that they got the ice block. Elite's going to get out of crowd control. Actually gets locked out once again. Jamili could be in a lot of trouble right now. Gets life gripped away from Peekaboo. They're going into sort of panic mode. Jamili getting freedom, line of sighting. So well done.
Peekaboo getting swapped to, down at 18%. He doesn't disperse. And Tempo Storm are going to lose 1-3. Skillcap to you making a swap, and Peekaboo not able to disperse in time. And Skillcap to you are going to be the first team to make it to the grand finals here at BlizzCon.
Wow.
That was incredible.
They were able to switch to Holy Paladin God Comp to deal with the Arcane Mage coming out from Temple Storm, and now Temple Storm wasn't able to deal with them in a mirror. Despite that being a very close game, Skillcap able to put out a tremendous amount of damage and actually win that game. Like we said, these games, a lot of the time you can tell what's going on, what's going to happen, but here at the BlizzCon stage,
there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Oh, wow. Man. I can't feel bad though for Peekaboo. They were so worried about Jamili. I think that everybody was just zoned in on Jamili in that one moment and just didn't expect himself to get swapped to, so he's not going to be able to get the dispersion off, which means that Skillcap to you are going to move on to the grand finals, and Tempo Storm have now been eliminated from the competition.
What an exciting match that was, and we have more coming. Oh boy, and we know that Skillcap is going to be going to the grand finals. They're one match away from $120,000 now.
Yep. So of course today we do have our one more semifinal game, and the grand finals tomorrow. So we'll be seeing Skillcap EU tomorrow playing for the title of BlizzCon champion.
We just saw the second place teams from North America and Europe face off, and Europe ended up coming out ahead. Now the first place teams between Europe and North America are going to face off in what I would expect to be just as epic of a series, and it's great to see the versatility from Skillcap to you, not only just playing the combat RMD, able to play the Holy Paladin Shatter now as well, and answer that kind of wild card that Jamili brought forward with Arcane excellently, and they've secured their spot in the grand finals with that great play.
Yeah, being able to pull out that Shatter play with the Holy Paladin was so important against that Arcane Mage.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't have that, and that's one of the cool things about this format in particular. This is the first BlizzCon where teams have had the opportunity to actually play with 4 different players. Because of that, they're able to run different compositions, counter comp if they need to, and a lot of the time they're not caught in a situation where they don't have an answer, because that would happen at previous WoW tournaments where you'd kind of go up against a composition that was really hard for you, didn't really have too much of a choice, and you get eliminated because of that. But here, these teams are very prepared, running multiple compositions, and it's nice to see sort of a different format.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see SK Gaming versus Cloud9.
Yeah.
Like we've been saying, they're the first place teams from their respective regions, and SK Gaming has been preparing so long and so hard throughout practicing week after week, weekend after weekend, tournament after tournament, definitely dominating the European scene. We can actually see Healing Stat kind of having a moment there of excitement, just pure adrenaline, like, yes, we're finally here. We are in the BlizzCon final, and you can tell that they're happy to move forward, and they're going to be having their opponents decided here very shortly.
I hope his keyboard's okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope his keyboard's still alive.
Still has to play. All right, and we have Jackson standing by with the Windows 10 game DVR replay.
Wow, what an incredible series that was, and congrats to Skillcap to you for moving on to the grand finals of BlizzCon. Give it up for him, guys. All right, so in that last match, take a look at this. That was an absolutely back and forth battle. And one thing to mention is that Tempo Storm, you got to give it up to these guys for being able to swap over to classes and specs that they hadn't really been playing previously in the tournament to, come out here and have such a competitive game like that. But it does seem like potentially that little bit of an experience, having Peekaboo having been playing Rogue this entire time, swaps over to Shadow Priest, and when the damage gets swapped to him, in such a bursty manner, he may not have had the quickness to press that disperse. Maybe he got locked out, but I mean, it's that sort of thing. You have to be absolutely on your game. And even though Tempo Storm played an amazing series, Skill Cap to You is going to take the series and move on to the next round. So an absolutely epic match right there, absolutely epic series. And we are going to be hearing from Healing Stat in just a moment. But before that, we're going to go ahead and throw it back to the casters and see what they think.
Thank you again, Jackson, for that replay analysis. What a great match that was, and we have more coming.
Well, only one more.
Yeah.
One more today.
We've got the finals tomorrow, too.
Yeah, the finals will be decided tomorrow and deem our BlizzCon champion. We have one grand finalist, which is Skill Cap to You. Tempo Storm, unfortunately, have been eliminated by them. And now moving forward, a best of 5 between SK Gaming and Cloud9. Curious to see who's going to come out ahead on this. I know that Cloud9 feels like they've got it in the bag, but SK Gaming also feel like they have it in the bag. The confidence from both teams throughout all these matches has been really high, and it's great to see that, and it's great to see the versatility. It's switching through multiple specializations and multiple comps.
Yeah, I think that those two, the Cloud9 and from NA, was just like so dominant in the regionals.
Yeah,
it was crazy to see how they actually dunked on Tempo Storm, even in the mirror, which was crazy because we were expecting that Jamili would have maybe pulled something crazy out that we haven't seen before, but that was almost like a dominant victory in the finals of the North American regionals.
Yeah, Cloud9 sort of North America's last chance to make it into the BlizzCon finals. There's been a lot of rivalry between the North American and the European teams this year. We'll have to see what happens in this next series to see what our finals look like tomorrow.
But we do have an interview over with Healing Stat and Bajir, the winners of that past series.
That's about. All right, guys. Let's see. You guys ready for this? Good? All right, we are joined by Healing Stat, team captain of Skill Cap to You, fresh off of an awesome series. So you guys were, it was a 3-1, but it seemed like you guys got pushed by Tempo Storm. What was that like when they, brought out the Arcane Mage?
Well, for us, this was going to be by far the hardest of the US teams, and we might say they might even be the hardest of the whole BlizzCon for us, because this Arcane Mage comp, although we weren't surprised by the fact they brought it out because we've seen them practicing a lot and they've had a lot of success with it versus other teams, the problem was obviously they refused to practice for us. So we had no idea what we wanted to do against it. We started out with our RMD composition purely because we feel confident in it. We think we're probably the best RMD here, and we reckon that if we were to play Shadow, it's a little bit untested on stage. Ville hasn't played, I haven't played Mepala. So yeah, when we lost the game to the Arcane as RMD, we realized the way we lost the game was such that it didn't look like we were going to come close to winning. We weren't really that close to killing them. Shadow play should have an advantage in the matchup, but like I said, the fact that we were untested scared us a little bit.
Yeah, so you brought in Villi, who we hadn't seen in the tournament yet. So what was that like for him? What did he have to do in order to stay fresh and be able to jump right in and be the player that you needed him to be?
Well, backstage we've been practicing both comps a lot. We've made sure that he's completely ready, stage ready, as much as we can. He's probably the best priest in EU right now, maybe the best priest in the world. There's no hesitation about his skill. It's just, firstly, of course, him first time on stage, as you say, how will it go, how is Skype going to be? But it's also my Holy Paladin. I had a good series, but my Paladin is really inconsistent. So Peekaboo played the ult, but I was also on the ult, so it's scary for both of us.
Well, it seemed to be just exactly what you guys needed, and even though you're overseas, you do have a lot of support in the crowd, and support from one particular person. It seems like you had a poster. What's your relation to her?
So this is Anna, and she's the best girl in the world, and she has an amazing poster to go with it. So
awesome! Let's see the poster. There it is. Look at that majestic look in your eye right there. Does that look like the look of a BlizzCon champion to you?
Pardon?
Does that look like the look of a BlizzCon champion to you?
I wouldn't have been able to win without the poster. The motivation.
Awesome. All right. Well, congratulations on that awesome series. We are going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to the action, guys.